Hey everyone, and welcome back to Terminal 7 at JFK, where tonight I have the distinct pleasure of flying aboard the Queen of the Skies, the legendary Boeing 747. Now I thought this video was going to start off with me complaining about the outrageous prices British Airways charges for seat selection, but it turns out that even though I logged onto their website, selected the window seat that I wanted, and paid the $64 fee, I somehow ended up in a middle seat in the back of the plane by the toilets. It's true that seat selection is free with BA 24 hours before departure, but for an AvGeek like me, securing a window seat on a plane that's disappearing from the skies really means a lot. And as you can imagine, not even getting the seat that I thought I had secured really put me in a bad mood. But little did I know that a few months after this flight, a global pandemic would strike and force a lot of the few remaining operators of the 747 to send this bird into early retirement. My mood instantly began to improve though, when I noticed the plane that would be taking me to London. This 20-year-old 747 was one of the aircraft that BA decided to paint in a special retro livery to celebrate their 100-year anniversary. Flying on this beautiful plane was a great surprise, and almost made up for the views of London I missed out on by not having a window seat. Looking back, I was pretty fortunate to have even flown on a 747, let alone one of the ones with a special livery. Anyway, once my ticket was scanned, I couldn't wait to get on board. Upon entering the plane, one of the flight attendants noticed that I was taking pictures, and when she questioned me on it, I told her how excited I was to be flying on this 747. She looked at me like I was a total weirdo, and was so shocked in fact that she even forgot to tell me to put my camera away. I guess not everyone appreciates just how cool it is to be flying on the Queen of the Skies. I eventually made my way back to seat 53F and began to settle in for my flight to Heathrow. There's 145 seats in the economy class cabin, and most are in a 343 layout, but back here they're actually in a 242 configuration. This was a red-eye flight, and we left the gate on time at 9:45 at night.
The safety video part 3 is back. And just a little bit.
After a smooth takeoff, we began our 7-hour journey to the UK. Let's take a closer look around the cabin. First off, I thought the seats were a lot more comfortable than I was expecting, and each passenger received a nice blanket, a pillow with a really cool pillowcase, and a pair of earbuds. I've heard some complaints about the legroom on BA's 747s, but for me, I thought it was fine, except for this bar that was right between your legs. There was also a decent amount of recline. My favorite part of the seat though was the headrest. I loved the design and it was very comfortable too. Everyone also had access to an IFE system with a touchscreen monitor that worked really well. There was a decent amount of movies and TV shows, certainly enough to keep you occupied on a transatlantic flight like this. The only downside was that there was about 3 minutes of ads before each movie started, but thankfully you could skip through them. I found the tray table to be nice and sturdy, and once we had reached cruising altitude, the crew began the complimentary snack and drink service. Once that had been cleared away, dinner was served. You could choose between chicken curry and pasta. I decided to go with the chicken curry because I had the exact same meal on the Virgin Atlantic flight I took back in September, and I thought it would be interesting to compare the two. The presentation wasn't the best, but this meal was much more substantial than what Virgin served, and more importantly, it tasted a lot better. I've always been a fan of the catering on BA flights, and this dinner did not disappoint. As I mentioned earlier, the 747 is being phased out left and right. This particular plane is set to be withdrawn from service in 2023, so you still have some time to catch a flight before it's gone. Soon after the meals had been cleared, the crew dimmed the lights so everyone could get some sleep. As we approached the coast of Ireland, and after a few hours of sleep, the cabin lights were turned back on. Normally, I'm not able to sleep on planes, so being able to grab a few hours of rest was a huge plus. There's 4 lavatories located in the rear of the plane, and I thought they were kept pretty clean throughout the entire flight. A light breakfast of a croissant with cheddar and tomato chutney was served. It wasn't the most filling, but it was still pretty tasty. Not long after the crew had cleared breakfast away, we began to prep for landing. You usually get really great views of London when approaching Heathrow from this direction, but sadly, I was stuck in the middle. Coming into this flight, I was definitely of the opinion that British Airways was the best option to fly from the US to the UK, but this whole debacle with my seat really threw that into question. In the end, however, I was never actually charged. In speaking with a friendly representative from BA, I found out that when you choose a seat on the website, it's only a request and doesn't become a firm commitment until the airline decides to charge you. This is a very unusual policy, and I hope BA reconsiders. I'll also add that I booked this flight as part of a return ticket with Iberia. Maybe that played a role in all this. Despite missing out on a window seat, this was still a very enjoyable flight, and I still think that British Airways is the best carrier connecting the US and the UK. I was sad to hear that they were recently forced to let go of 12,000 workers due to COVID-19. I've always found BA crews to be top-notch, and I wish them the best during these troubling times. With that said, I hope you're all doing well too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.